This podcast is Into the Airbnb, and I am Jesok. Today's guest is Teri. She runs 2 listings near Charlotte in North Carolina. Her revenue from a 4-bedroom house is around $4,000 to $5,000 per month, plus cleaning fees, depending on the season. Similar properties around the area are rented out at $2,000 to $2,500 per month. Teri also has 52 reviews, average at 4.98 stars for this listing. So what do you do outside of running this Airbnb?
Well, I am recently retired from a profession in cardiac surgery. Right. I worked in an operating room for 22 years. And I've always, well, not always, for the last 15 years or so, I had 7 rental properties I managed on the side as traditional rentals. So I had tenants who would live there for a year or 2 years and then move out. And then I'd get a new tenant. I did that, and I did that in Chicago. And after relocating to Charlotte, North Carolina a couple of years ago, I learned about Airbnb property management from my neighbor, who is also in real estate and real estate development. And I was interested in getting another rental property, so decided to try Airbnb, and it's been great up until recently.
All right. So I saw that you have 2 listings right now, and when did you start your first one, and when did you get your second one?
Okay, so I purchased my first property in the fall of 2018, and it is a single family home, and we had to do a little bit of renovation to it just to kind of update it, and I listed it and had it up and running on Airbnb in December of 2018. So I received my very first reservation on the first day I listed the property. So I hosted my first guest in like the 3rd week of December, and it's been rented just about every weekend since. Since we had such success with it in early 2019, I decided to purchase another single family home, which is only about 5 minutes from my current property, and had that place up and running within 3 weeks. However, the property suffered a fire, which destroyed the interior of the home. Oh. And it's been under renovation since May of last year. And I am still about 3 weeks away of getting that property up and running.
Right. I've done some research about your first listing, which has really good review, above 4.9. What's your strategy to deal with this coronavirus and all those cancellations situations right now?
Yeah, so right now, I am trying to think outside the box. So I have listed the property on furnishedfinder.com, which also works with traveling nurses. And I have also tried to put my listing on different Facebook groups just to let people in the area know that if they have family who maybe, still needs to come into town, they would have a safe place to stay while they're here. I'm lucky that I did have a family who needed a temporary place to stay because their house is being renovated, locally. So she has been staying with me for 2 weeks now while her roof is being replaced. But after that, I'm just hoping that the restrictions on all the states and all the travel will be lifted within the next 30 to 60 days so that we can start accepting bookings again.
What was your occupancy rate like in last 2 months before this coronavirus thing hit?
So my occupancy rate kind of in January, February was over 50%. My weekend bookings were 100% booked Friday, Saturday night. And I had a few that were staying throughout the week. And I'm very into great customer service. So I respond to requests within an hour, and I make sure to welcome my guests when they arrive. I send them a welcome message, and I leave, things in the home for them that, just kind of make it special so that they feel like they're getting a little bit more for their money. And I always want to make sure that they're happy before they leave. So I check in on them and ask them that, I strive for a 5-star review at the end of their stay. So if there's anything that I can do to make sure that happens, they can always reach out to me.
Right. When I checked your listing, the price was around 280 to 310. Mm-hmm. Is it right estimation, or did you lower it recently?
So recently I have lowered it a little bit, 10 to 20%. But on average, yes, I was getting around, 270 on average per night, per stay. It is a 4-bedroom home, so 8 to 10 people can sleep in the house.
Right.
And, at $300 a night, that's still a very reasonable rate.
When I had a look on Zillow, it seems like the similar property in Bellanton area, which is well known for wealthy neighborhood, was rented out at around $3,000 to $4,000 per month. Mm-hmm. Do you agree with that price?
Yes, I do.
Right. And you mentioned that you're getting around $300 per night. And if you get 50% occupancy rate, that's around $4,000 per month in revenue.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Then that isn't too much higher than renting out long term.
Oh, long term.
Right, because that's around 3,000 to 4,000.
Well, so I think your assessment of those rates, it does really depend on neighborhood. So right. The neighborhood I'm in, those homes would probably rent out traditionally for $2,000 to $2,500 a month.
All right.
Yes. And even if I were able to get $3,000 a month,
yep.
I would much rather still have my home be a short-term rental, because I find that long-term tenants tend to not take care of the property as well as a short-term tenant does. And so there is less wear and tear on your property with a short-term tenant, because it's, for one, they are only there for a few nights. And for the nights that your property is not rented, it's staying clean. It's being maintained by you. You have plenty of opportunity to go in there and fix something when it's broken.
Yep.
And so I think, even if I were making the same amount or even a little bit less, I would still feel like I was doing better with a short-term rental than a long-term.
Right, understood. But still, you're making a lot higher than renting out in the long term, which is between 2,000 to 2,500. So
yes. Yeah. This has proven to be better than a long-term rental, especially during the really big travel seasons, which is the summertime. Right. My summertime rates were much higher, and I had more of an 80% occupancy rate in the summer.
Right. That's interesting. So you were putting it at a higher price. How much higher than, let's say, January or February?
About 10 to 15%.
Right. How do you do cleaning? Do you hire a cleaner or do you do it yourself?
I do both, actually. So on days when I have the time myself, I will go do it myself. But if I happen to be traveling or if I'm busy during a checkout, then I do have a crew that comes to help me.
What software do you use to run your Airbnb?
So I list on Airbnb.com and on VRBO.com.
Do you use any other tools to do pricing or messaging?
Yes, I have tried beyondpricing.com to see if their algorithm would help with doing, smart pricing, on demand pricing.
Yep.
I use them for a little bit, and I think it all just depends on your market. I felt like I could keep up with my pricing just as well as they can. So
yep.
I'm still kind of playing around with that.
All right. That's understood. You, in the earlier during this interview, you mentioned about you had 7 properties in Chicago.
Yes.
Are you still running them as the long-term rentals?
No, I'm not. I decided to sell all of those properties when I moved because I didn't want to be, maintaining them long distance.
Right. And do you plan to expand your Airbnb operations in your area in the near future?
Yes, I actually do have a contract on another single family home, which I'm supposed to purchase at the end of next month. And right now I haven't made any decisions, but I'm a little bit concerned with the real estate market in Charlotte because of the coronavirus. And so I'm not 100% sure if I'll be moving forward with that at this time. I haven't made any decision yet.
I see. That's interesting that you were thinking of buying a property just to run as an Airbnb rental. Is that correct?
Yes.
And can you describe how you did your market research to decide that property is yours, like to run Airbnb?
So as I mentioned earlier, my neighbor who has been in the real estate market in Charlotte for over 20 years, he helped me do a lot of the research, and he uses AirDNA.
Right. So I guess from there you was able to estimate how much you could make by running this.
Yes. Yes. So we would look for properties that were for sale, that were undervalued, where we could purchase them at a really good price, and ones that with the AirDNA data told us or predicted a nightly rate that we could get for that property. And so based on those numbers, we would decide which property we'd try to purchase, specifically just to run as an Airbnb.
And that was it about the interview. And
okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing and taking your time on it.
Yeah, thank you very much. You're very welcome.
Thanks for listening to the Into the Airbnb. I hope you enjoyed it. Information about the guest and guest listing are available in the description. To find out more about vacation rental data, visit airbtics.com. AIRBTICS.com.